When you think of climate action, what comes to mind? Having to live differently? Having to shop for different clothes or eat different food? Having to give things up for the greater good? Almost a sacrifice of sorts. Images flash through my head sometimes. Am I gonna have to survive purely on tofu and lentils and time my showers like an extreme sport? It can feel like we need to downgrade our lives to forward climate action. At least, that's the story we're told. But what if that story has it backwards? What if a lot of the shifts that are good for the planet also improve our lives? Let's actually set aside climate action for now. Would these things be worth striving for anyways? First up, how we get around and where we live. Many of us spend thousands on cars, gas, insurance, or we get crammed onto slow, inefficient public transit. Think of all the time, money, and just mental energy that gets wasted on moving around. Now, contrast that with somewhere that's actually designed for people, not just cars. Imagine being able to walk or bike to visit friends, get a coffee, or get groceries, because everything is actually close by. You may have heard of this 15-minute city idea, where all your daily needs are easily accessible and close to where you live. So what would this actually mean for you? Well, it's money saved. Significantly less money spent on gas, car maintenance, or maybe even ditching the car completely. Studies show that households in walkable neighborhoods spend way less on transportation costs. It's time reclaimed. Less time stuck commuting means more time for, well, everything else. It's often better physical health. Active transport, usually walking or cycling, gets built into your day naturally. Plus, fewer cars means cleaner air to breathe, which has really positive knock-on effects for respiratory health. It can also lead to reduced stress. Navigating traffic is stressful, and while a pleasant walk or bike ride is not. And most importantly, it fosters social connection. Those unplanned chats with neighbors on the sidewalk or seeing familiar faces in local shops, that's how a community gets built, and that's really lost when we're sealed inside individual cars. Sounds pretty appealing, doesn't it? More money, more time, better health, and a stronger sense of community. It's really a genuine quality of life upgrade. Okay, but maybe your city or campus isn't there yet. Transforming places takes a lot of time and effort. It needs things like dedicated, protected bike lanes. It means zoning reform that allows for affordable housing and small businesses right in neighborhoods. It means reliable, frequent public transit. Pushing for these changes, that's where collective action comes in. Joining local urbanist groups, showing up to city council meetings, advocating for transit funding, these are ways in which we can nudge our communities towards building spaces that work better for people. Alright, next, let's talk food. Now, obviously, we all need to eat, but our current food system often involves long supply chains, a ton of processing, and some pretty questionable impacts on the environment. Now, imagine having more access to food that's fresh, grown with care, and local to where you live. Think farmers markets bursting with seasonal produce, community gardens where you can get your hands dirty, or even universities and workplaces actively prioritizing better sourcing practices. This has serious, tangible benefit. The one I care about the most is that you just get better, tastier food. It's fresh, it's clean, and it's free of pesticides and other nasty stuff. It can also be friendlier on the wallet. Eating seasonally and plant-based food reduces food waste, and this can cut down on grocery bills. Lastly, it improves food security and resilience. Shorter and more diverse local food chains are less vulnerable to large-scale disruptions, like we're seeing from the States right now. But making these options the easy default choice takes more than just changing your personal shopping habits. We need supporting policies that help small and mid-sized sustainable farms thrive, creating accessible spaces for urban agriculture, pushing institutions to adopt ethical and local sourcing standards, and supporting initiatives that reduce food waste. Collective effort helps build a food system that truly nourishes people. Alright, the final area I want to focus on is power. How do we generate it, and how does it get used in our buildings? Right now, ever-changing fossil fuel prices can lead to volatile energy prices, and sometimes unpredictable spikes that cost you a lot of money. And poor building design means that we often need the heat running non-stop in the winter, while the AC is always going in the summer. Now, imagine a cleaner model, where homes and businesses are powered by safe, clean, and stable sources like wind or solar power. Combine that with buildings that are designed or retrofitted for proper energy efficiency, with good insulation, better windows, and smart appliances. We get some serious perks by transitioning away from fossil energy. First, it's cheaper energy. Everything is more efficient, which means less energy used and thus less money you have to pay. Shifting away from burning fossil fuels locally also addresses harmful air pollutants that are linked to asthma and other respiratory issues. And building things like solar farms or wind turbines, or even retrofitting buildings, creates many future-proof jobs that are well-paying and offer diverse opportunities. Renewables and better building design often generally mean a more comfortable living experience with less changes in temperature. And decentralized renewables, like solar panels on your roof, can provide backup power during grid outages. Lower bills, cleaner air, and tons of jobs. It just makes sense. Of course, scaling this transition requires huge collective action. Governments and industries need to help accelerate the shift to renewables and put stronger energy efficiency standards in place, while also providing a path for home and business owners to implement these changes. So let's recap. We talked about cities designed for people, not just cars. We talked about food systems that are fresher, more connected, and more resilient. And we talked about buildings that are powered by clean, efficient energy. These aren't pipe dreams. These are achievable upgrades to our quality of life. They address things that we all deeply care about: our financial well-being, our physical and mental health, the strength of our communities, and our prospects for the future. And here's the crucial part. It turns out that building this better, more desirable future is exactly what we need to do to tackle the climate crisis. Let me explain. That frustrating, polluting transportation sector we want to fix, it's one of the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Moving towards sustainability, walking, biking, and transit is climate action. The industrial food system, with its long chains and waste, it accounts for roughly a third of emissions. Shifting to more sustainable, local, and plant-rich options is climate action. And our reliance on fossil fuels for power and heat, that is the single largest driver of climate action. Transitioning to renewables and boosting energy efficiency is one of the best things we can do for the climate. See the pattern? Pursuing these quality of life upgrades is completely intertwined with climate action. We don't necessarily need to choose between a thriving society, a comfortable life, and a stable climate. The path to one often leads directly to the others. And yes, individual action is important, but we need systemic shifts to make the biggest difference. That collective push I keep talking about, that's how we accelerate this alignment. It's not just about preventing future catastrophe. It's about actively designing and demanding the kind of present and future we actually want to inhabit. Look, feeling anxious or overwhelmed about climate change is a totally fair response. But hopefully, seeing climate action as less of a sacrifice and more of an opportunity for us, for our communities, and for the planet can shift that feeling towards motivation. Here are a few starting points. Check out local sustainability or climate action hubs at your university or college. Look for organizations in your area, like a Sierra Club, a Citizens Climate Lobby, or even things like a bicycle coalition. And check out your local library or community center. There are often workshops on things like gardening, home energy savings, or local advocacy efforts. And finally, pay attention to local elections. City councilors, mayors, and state reps have a huge impact on the way we live. They make decisions about zoning, transit, and energy policies that have major knock-on effects. Building a thriving future and taking action on climate isn't about accepting less and making sacrifices. It's about having the vision and collective will to demand something better for you, for your community, and for the world.